Yo,
Hi.
yo, this is Speech.
Yes, hi, how you doing? This is Namdi. I'm out here in the UK.
What's up, brother? Yeah, it's good to talk to you, man. Good to talk to you. I'm
Yes.
here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Okay. Are you driving or are you off somewhere?
I'm not driving. My daughter and my wife are driving. I'm just chilling in the back seat.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's not often that we get to. As I said, it's really good the fact that you guys who have been in mainstream music culture since the early '90s and are still making music and stuff. But
Sure.
one of the things about our show, Halftime Chat, is that we've got an international audience of R&B fans from around the world, and they always love
Nice.
to hear the stories from our favorite groups, and also just see what you guys are up to now. But we always like to go with the
Cool.
beginning, because we're international. It's good to know where you personally were born and raised, and then we start from there.
Yeah, I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is the Midwest here in the United States. And
Okay,
yeah, that's where I was born and raised. And then I spent my summers in Tennessee with my
okay,
grandmother. So I got a lot of sort of rural South, down South energy flowing in my veins as well. And then I moved to Atlanta in 1987, and that's
okay,
where Arrested Development started. Is in Atlanta, Georgia.
okay,
So I've been here in Atlanta ever since.
okay. I went to college in Mequon, Concordia University, Mequon.
Now Mequon is a beautiful, beautiful town.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
It really is.
yeah. So yeah, I did. So from '93 to '98, I lived in Milwaukee, well, Mequon, and then
Yeah,
subsequently Milwaukee. So I know the area. I didn't realize you were from. I knew you were
yeah,
born there. I didn't realize you actually grew up and stuff there.
yeah, yeah,
Ah,
definitely.
in those early days, then, how did you get into music as a kid growing up in the Midwest?
You know, the Midwest is an interesting place because we're not on the coast, we're not the East Coast, we're not the West Coast,
Yeah.
and we liked music from everywhere. So I would, my dad owned a nightclub, and
Oh,
he would get promotional records. And at this time, I was 12, 13 years old. And
yeah.
so he used to ask me to listen to the records to decide what I thought should be played at the club.
What? Wow.
And yeah, so I did. And I listened to everything from, rock music to soul and hip hop. So, um, so I fell in love with music. I fell in love with DJing. And I started DJing at age 13 at the nightclub for the adults, at night.
Wow.
And that's sort of where I cut my teeth as a DJ and really like learning musicality.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so it was through my dad's nightclub that I really learned all that stuff.
Then at that time, then I mean, I know as a DJ you're learning the music and the different vibes and stuff, but what about the actual performance side? Was that ever something that you thought about picking up, or you just enjoyed that sort of mixing the records?
So at first it was more about mixing the records, but I was pretty popular, so I was doing a lot of DJ sets
Okay.
um, for Milwaukee, and then I started a rap group called Attack in Milwaukee,
Okay.
and we were probably the most noted and famous hip hop group in Milwaukee at the time. This was in the '80s, like the early
Okay.
'80s,
Okay.
and so I think I cut my teeth like performance wise, doing that kind of shows and just doing hip hop and learning from some of the greats, Run DMC and LL and GTFO and Houdini and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so from that early age, then what was it for you? Then was it just a passway time? You were thinking about school and stuff, or what was it?
Nah, man, this was like literally my number one priority was music. In lieu of sports, because I used to run track when I was in grade school, but I stopped because of music. Like, you know, everything I was focused on was music related. I sucked at school because of it. Like, um, I don't know how the system works there, but here I had a 0.9 average in high
Ah,
school. I was really, really, really bad. And so F basically, which is how we grade it over here. Um, so yeah, it was pretty bad, but obviously, music worked out for me, and I was grateful. And once I started, it's funny, once I started learning about Black history and Black power and Black Panthers and Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X, and that actually helped me to do better in school because I had a reason to be excellent. Like prior to that, I think I was sort of disillusioned with the whole education system and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, okay, I guess just when you weren't doing that great in your school and you were into the music, what was your parents? How did they? I mean, were they encouraging the music, or they was like, no? What was the situation?
No, I think I was really blessed because my parents very much encouraged the music. My mom, because like my mom's a super educated woman, very, very great speaker, great educator. And I think she realized quickly that I wasn't going to be on that same path. So she was like, okay, at least he could do music. Let me support him on that. My dad, he was more of a street dude. And he saw me as just talented with sort of A&Ring, good records to play at the club. He saw that. And he also, I thought, when I think about it, I think he realized that was a way for him to stay close to me too. So keep me off the streets. Milwaukee, as you well know, I'm a Milwaukee, not Mequon, of course, is a rough town. You know what I mean? It's a rough town for Black people. It's literally statistically one of the worst places for Black men to grow up in. So Mequon, on the other hand, is gorgeous. I love Mequon, man. But so anyway, trying to keep me off the streets, I think he realized that music was a way to keep me motivated and inspired.
Then what about the because I mentioned, okay, so my family are Nigerian, so I was born in England, went to high school in Nigeria, then went to college in the US. So by the time I moved to the US in '93, I had a sort of a rounded understanding of my heritage, and so
Nice.
I had a very different understanding about sort of civil rights and stuff because I actually moved to Alabama. But for yourself,
wow.
Selma, Alabama, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me say one thing to my wife right quick. I hope y'all look for apartments too.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, Selma, Alabama. So actually, the mayor of Selma, when I moved there in '93, was the same guy who was the mayor when they did the march across Selma.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So I moved to Selma, hearing about all this stuff and fascinated, but I wasn't deterred about, the racism and stuff because I think I just had a very different sort of focus.
Sure. Definitely.
But one of the things that you mentioned was about one of the things about your music has always been about empowerment. Very similar. You mentioned about the Public Enemy and probably African Bambaataa and stuff. How? Because that wasn't very popular. Because a lot of people were thinking about money and stuff. How did you hold on to that element of social consciousness and think? It may not be the most popular and commercially viable, but it's something I believe passionate about.
Yeah, to be honest, it was two things. One is that my mother and father were activists. Wow. So my mom owns the largest Black newspaper in Wisconsin. It's called the Milwaukee Community Journal. It's still rolling to this day. And so my mom owns that. So every morning at breakfast as a family, we talk about Black issues and things that are going on in the community and trying to figure out ways to solve stuff. We would talk about that. So that was just a family tradition. But then second of all, Milwaukee, the disparities between Black and white in Milwaukee the contrast is very strong. So like you would see the oppression, you could see it pretty clearly. There was no middle class, upper middle class Black neighborhoods in Milwaukee. It was like, so I think that it was very just on my mind, the disparities and the problems that were happening in the United States with I think that's why I really wanted to do music that addressed that because it was so like stark,
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.
You know. I begin to